We're live! Welcome to State of Headless CMS. Yay!
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm your host. We're good. There we go. I'm your host, Jesse Tomshock. We are going to go through, we're going to talk about the state of Headless CMS and what it's like in 2022 and where's it headed. We are, of course, sponsored by this.labs, where I work and where Keon works. And you know what? You could come work with us too. We're currently hiring at this.labs. You can come work with this amazing team. I think Mario works there. Batman apparently works there with us. So you could come work with such stellar. This is just one of our meetings. So you never know what you're going to get at this.labs. We are a full stack agency working with amazing clients that we love to augment, build new things for, and do things. Here's a few of our favorites. They're all our favorites. They're like children. We don't have a favorite. They're all great. But enough about us. Oh, no, there's more. We have more events tomorrow. Monthly mentoring, women in tech. This is a fantastic event that I like to just go sit and watch and see all the amazing things that are happening. So that is tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Vue monthly mentoring. So if you're in the Vue ecosystem and in the Vue next week, you can dip in there and get some Vue questions answered. We've got great people to sort of help you out, figure out what mixins are and what the rest of the Vue stuff looks like. State of GraphQL is also next week. Man, this is quite a calendar. State of web performance is at the end of the month, and then state of Angular following that. We've got all the state topics. But not today. Today, we are doing state of Headless CMS. I'm Keon. I'm not Keon. I'm Jesse, a software architect at this.labs. And I'm going to host with my friend Keon. Say hi, Keon. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Keon.
I am not Keon. You are Keon.
I'm a senior software engineer here at this.labs. And I am excited to be here with Jesse to talk about Headless CMS.
Awesome. And here are our wonderful panelists. Cap, let's start with you. No, Cap, you're still on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, we're ready.
Rookie mistake. But yeah, aloha everyone. My name is Cap, also Kapehe. You'll see both ways. And I am at Sanity.io. I do developer relations over there. I am located in Las Vegas, Nevada. And no, I do not gamble every night. So there is normal life here in Las Vegas. But one of the questions that Jesse asked before we went live was what's your favorite dinosaur? And I think my favorite dinosaur is a Triceratops. I don't know. I just love Triceratops. But yeah, that's me.
Did that come from Jurassic Park when they were like laying on her and she was like...
I think it came from Land Before Time. I liked Sarah in the Triceratops.
This one? Or which one is that?
The one that has
the Triceratops is the one with the horns?
Yeah, and then like the fan above its head. Yeah.
Who's the one with the wings was Ducky, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've got little kids, you know exactly. I don't even have to tell you that. I can name all the characters. Well, that's fantastic. We're waiting for Daniel. He's going to jump in here and connect any second. But Samuel, why don't you take it from here? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. So Samuel Snopko. I'm here from Storyblok, and I'm happy to lead the DevRel team there. So I'm based in Austria, not Australia. Austria. So it's quite cold and dark here right now. And basically, if I may jump, then as we are talking about the dinosaurs, then I have a funny one because my favorite one is the Gigantosaurus, which is unreal. Because it's a fancy story from a children's book of my son, and it just made a dinosaur to make everybody a little bit too afraid and behave nicely. So that's my favorite one.
Your favorite one? I love made-up dinosaurs. With all the dinosaur books are so great. Daniel, you were just in time.
Yep, thank you. I tried to fix something that wasn't broken, and I paid the price. But good to have me.
Thank you.
What were
Tell
we
us a little-
saying? Did I miss anything?
No, we were just doing intros. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're up to in the headless CMS space, and then your favorite dinosaur.
That's random. Sure. I'm Daniel, developer relations lead at Strapi. In the Headless CMS space, I feel like I'll talk a bit more about that, but we're sort of trying to like push the edge on customization. And my favorite dinosaur is, I hope no one said this, but they probably have. I like the T-Rex just because it's more, I feel sorry for it with the hands. Can't do much, but yeah, I like it.
There is such a great series of like T-Rex doing regular things, like trying to eat a bird, like trying to pick up a burger or trying to like write a letter. I will share them on Twitter. They will absolutely make your day because you're just like,
It's
oh, I feel so
more than art.
bad. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. Stefan.
Yeah, hi friends, I'm Stefan. I am based also in dark Berlin, Germany, so it's end of the day here. And yeah, I do developer relations at Contentful, blogging a lot, helping a lot of people all day, all night. And my favorite dinosaur, I have no idea. I picked the one with a long neck, I guess. What's the name of that one? With a huge long neck?
I can't remember, but
I
I know
think
what
it's
you're
Stegosaurus.
Yes.
Oh,
I'll pick that one.
the Stegosaurus. I was going to say a Brontosaurus or a Brachiosaurus.
I just hear words here. I don't even.
Yeah.
I cannot even picture any dinosaur when you say these words.
I think at this point I've like outed myself as the only one with like a kid right in the 5 or 6, 7 range where it's just like 24/7 dinosaur facts are just spilling out on my house. Like you just can't not. It's hard not to absorb any of those. So if you want
what
some,
about pterodactyls? Are those dinosaurs?
yeah, there you go. That's a wonderful
they?
one.
They are?
Yeah, the big flying one, the pterodactyl, the big long
Okay.
beak.
I thought they all had to have like the auras.
We're figuring out they're all birds anyway, so
Chicken, very closely related to chickens, yeah.
right? They're delicious. Arisa, tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to in Headless CMS.
All right, sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Arisa, originally from Japan, but based in South Germany. So it's quite also dark in here, but I'm very thrilled to join in here. So I'm also a developer relations engineer at Storyblok, and in like personal level, I love doing martial arts, so I can fight if anyone is interested in. Anyway, I also love teaching. So I teach at let's say like some programming like schools, like teaching for free or like learning for free, stuff like that. And yeah, Headless CMS. I love actually like developing stuff with Headless CMS because I used to develop a lot things with the monolithic, but I didn't satisfy. So I have been experimenting a lot, like with the headless architecture, and I was really loving doing that. So eventually, that's how I started to like enjoy myself working at Storyblok too. And not to forget my favorite dinosaur. I don't know the name of the species, but I love the one from the Jurassic World, Blue. If anyone knows about it.
The Velociraptor?
Yeah,
Probably. I really have
with
no
the
clue.
deep knowledge.
Yeah.
It is indeed a Velociraptor. Good job, Keon. That's awesome. Arisa, what style of martial arts do you do?
I do Aikido. It's a Japanese martial arts. So we do not have like really fighting, with the fighting game, but we do have like following the forms. So you learn like how you are going to defend yourself or how you're going to, like attack someone else, etc. So it's more like my old way because I don't want to have an injury and ended up into the hospital. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
That's awesome. I asked my little guy who is now just going to be a running topic on the show. He does Taekwondo. So he does a style similar to defense and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I can't promote it enough as something to give kids discipline and some structure. It's pretty fantastic stuff. So that's pretty amazing. I could probably go on all day about dinosaurs and martial arts, but we were talking before we went live about Headless CMS, and I've been egging to talk about this for like what seems like an hour now, and Kian keeps telling me to like save it for the show. So we're here, it's the show. So I'm going to ask everyone, where are we at in Headless CMS in 2022? Are we still in the intro phase, the origin story? Are we trying to educate people about it? Or are we past that? Are we in the middle of this story where it's like, okay, it's a thing, everybody's using it, it's a tool that everybody reaches for, and now we're sort of figuring out the best practices for this? Like, where are we in this journey? If it's a trilogy, are we still in the origin story? Are we like waiting for the third series to drop? Like, help me out from each of your experiences. Where does this fall? Cap, you go.
Yeah,
Go
I
for it,
guess
Cap.
I'll go. I feel like there's always going to be an origin story forever in any technology, in any kind of platform, because there's always going to be new developers coming in. And like when you get into tech, you're like, a headless CMS? I don't know what that is. So we always have to like be aware that there's going to always be that discovery phase. But then as you like get into the tech scene, that phrase kind of shows up more, and then you start looking into it and you're like, oh, maybe I can start using a headless CMS, and then you use it and then it becomes legacy to you. So it kind of depends on the developer how headless CMS will live as an origin story or as legacy or as something that it's just in everyone's vocabulary, because not everyone knows, you know, the acronyms that come up with tech, and sometimes it can be confusing. So it's always best to kind of gauge where the developer is and make sure that they understand exactly what they're getting into.
Very nice answer.
I agree
but,
with
Several heads nodding.
Yeah,
Sorry, so go ahead.
No, thank you. I mean, like, as a big, huge Star Wars fan, then for me, it's still the New Hope. I mean, but we are getting to the end, but we are definitely not in Empire Strike Back. So I don't see the monolithic CMSs to getting back to us. So if I put it this way, and we are still growing a lot. So we are still there's a lot of work before us to educate people, especially in those big enterprise places and projects that we are capable to do it. And there will be that phase, I think, for a year or two more, and then it will strongly change to getting bigger fight, if I may use that word. I don't like that word so far, with the old monolithic CMSs.
I think it not only depends on the development journey of the individual, but also the kind of community or tech stack of the folks that you're talking to. So for example, I'm kind of considering my part to be part of the hipster JavaScript tech Twitter whatever community, and it feels very, very present over there. But if you kind of go into different programming languages or ecosystems, like different programming languages, headless or API first might not even be a thing there. So I think we have still a lot of ground, or a long way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of you. And I feel like, of course, like there are some of the people still not yet even sure about the term of it. However, I got the feeling it's quite getting to be less and less, because even some of the marketers or content editors who want to, you know, for example, improve their collaborating workflow in a team, they are very keen to learn about how they can do that, how they can adapt the new way of like approaching. So I'm quite sure that the term itself, the headless CMS, and the feature itself is quite being well known compared to, you know, a couple of years ago for more wider ranges of the people.
Yeah, to add to that, I feel like a lot of people know what it is, but it's sort of like we're in that space where people know, but they don't necessarily know where or how exactly to use it. And I feel like that's also just some sort of cycle that everyone goes through. There's always like new developers coming in. They need to understand the value that the technology adds and to which part of the stack that you can add that. So I feel like people know, but they're just really trying to decide or figure out where they can actually use it.
So the general consensus seems to be that the term itself is started to have maybe a saturation point, but understanding it or even being able to define it still sort of eludes day to day. Stefan mentioned the hipster JavaScript Twitter, which is a fairly good way to encompass. I was saying earlier, like, I have a hard time taking the temperature of developers in general, because when you're in Twitter and you're doing shows like this and you're dipping into new technologies, you lose very quickly what everyone else is doing day to day to just build products.
On point.
They don't care. They're busy. I work. I used to famously work with a guy who did Perl all day, and he could care less about whatever shiny crap I was playing with. He could care less. He was doing Perl and he was happy, and that's his jam. And so, like, I mentioned things like Copilot to him, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, he literally doesn't care, and that it's totally great. So how do we get from us to him? Like, what's this like? How do you guys go about getting from us who are like with you and talking about it, and like super wound up, to Perl, my Perl friend, who's just like, whatever. I just stick it in a MySQL database. It's fine.
I feel like when we start solving a problem that your friend has, he would find that he probably needs headless, or the concept of headless. And I think, like, that's with every sort of technology. You have like the hype where, and I like the term hipster JavaScript today. I think it's made my day. But yeah, when you sort of cross that hype, that sort of like different sort of like the outliers, or the really, I don't want to say loud, sort of folks have, and then you actually start to get into places where people actually need that, or places where it actually solves sort of like business problems that people are having, and then we sort of start to reach your friend, for example. That's my feeling about it.
I also got the feeling like if the situation around this person is quickly changing, and everyone has started saying about like, oh, hey, there's another approach that you can make your workaround or workflow much easier with, let's say, like work less. I think this kind of people eventually start to be aware of what's going on around them, and I think like there could be, I would say, like less people wouldn't take like the better opportunities for them. I think we all are kind of like, I think it's easier, for example, like transform into something very easier and adaptable like solutions. So probably like it just like these resources or informations are maybe lacking out around these kind of type of people. That's what I think.
Yeah, I like what you said, Arisa. It's very much like we'll be here when you need us, and you may not see the value in it because you're just, you're happy with what you have and it works and it's great and nothing needs to change. You don't need to take your content out of a database. Leave it there if that's what works for you. But if when you need a headless CMS, we're here for you, and here is what we can do for you. Here's how we can make it easier or reusable, or how we can get your content on different, like across mobile and desktop or wherever it needs to go. And so it's kind of like that. We're here when you need us. And exactly. We'll show you along the way, like what we can do. And yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm curious so when we talk about, monoliths and the chat brought up, SMA brought up a wonderful question of like, the headless has got sort of a buzzword around it, but as far as understanding, like, what would you guys say from your experience day to day in it is the number one, is the largest problem that headless can solve? Like when I run into this problem, like headless is going to be my best tool for it, right? What would that problem look like to you guys?
If I may start, then I will be really abstract with this. So, because I think the huge problem we are trying to solve at the end of the day is to provide the best possible user experience, or like the editor experience. and in the same time to provide the best possible developer experience, which is like a huge challenge. And the headless is very good. And so basically the users who are like editing the content are happy, and and developers are at the same time happy, which was usually in my tries with all the other monolithic CMSs, either way issue that the users wasn't happy or the developers wasn't happy. But there was like never I found a solution where the both side was really happy, and there was like always like some issues on one of the sides. And here we, I think, are really good in solving this problem, which makes then everybody like very, very productive and then happy at the end of the day.
We at Contentful have the obvious way, or that is our journey. So one of our founders came up with Contentful basically because he needed a CMS for his iOS apps. So that is the obvious run, right? Ship your content anywhere. But I think the value these days is pretty much, if you go the approach of making it working across devices or websites or platforms or wherever you want to ship it, you will find out then, first of all, that your content will be in a better shape or structure. You're kind of following or restructuring the content, going away from pages and posts and all these kind of things that we all didn't like when we set up our old CMS systems, and everything becomes very frictionless as a side product of this journey. Hey, I want to have some content in my iOS app. And for me, I think it's like I can play with tech and I can feed data into whatever I want. And that is still something that excites me to this day, because I'm also like you, Jesse. I want to play with the latest and greatest and whatever is trending tomorrow. And it needs content.
Yeah, to add that, I would say like Headless CMS is quite attractive for like anyone, literally anyone, not just to the developers or not just to the business users. The reason why is because, first of all, like for developers, they don't have to be binded for a specific kind of technology. For example, in a monolithic world, it used to be PHP mostly, and I didn't enjoy, to be honest, if I be honest. Yeah, so, but then for Headless CMS approach, it will allow you to use like a bunch of like libraries, frameworks, even languages of your choice. So the developers will be able to find the best solution to enhance the performance of their projects. So that's really a huge thumbs up. And for the business users, I mean, like, as long as the developers can provide them the fundamentals, then they will be able to use like really high quality features such as like better collaborating features, etc., already integrated from the Headless CMS on the fly. So yeah, I would say like this will solve like quite a lot of like issues for like bigger or scaled sizes of the companies or the projects.
Yeah, I wonder if, so this is how I, like when I pitch Headless CMS, I usually pitch it from a business or marketing perspective of like, you can put your content in here and here's where you can put all your things and stuff. What I leave out is the idea that I'm going to use, Nuxt or Vue or Next.js or like whatever I feel like playing with on this end. And I'm just going to leave that story out because one, they're not interested in that and they could really care less. Yeah. Right. They want to go choose like a CMS that they want to, it's good that they can interact with. It isn't like slow or doesn't have those like weird thing where you have to like click these 3 buttons in this sequential order for things to work. And if you don't do it, everything gets dropped and then you have to copy paste, right? These are their concerns. So yeah. I tend to address that for them. I show them, each of you guys work for a different content, but you all have sort of studios or interfaces or things. Those are the things that I will show off. And then, I'm going to build it over here in this other thing, but don't worry. Like, don't worry about what's happening back here. I'll take care of that part. Here's the part for you. That tension, Samuel, you brought up earlier, is that how do you walk the line between features for content editors and creators and the developer experience, right? Because it seems like, there's only so much resource. And how do you guys decide to split it evenly? Is it 80-40? Like, how do you draw that line?
Take it, Samuel. Good one.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, that's a very huge question. So, which we are discussing every day inside the company. So, we are getting thousands of the feature requests. So on daily basis, and find the best way to find a quick solution. But what I liked about the Storyblok, and before I even joined the Storyblok, and that was for me the mind blowing, was exactly that we are looking for really the features that we can implement as fast as possible usually, and can bring us so much value to the user as possible. So you try to find really those small gems that you will implement very quickly. And this was for me, like when the Storyblok basically get me. Then as I wrote to the support channel, I think like 2018 or something, that I need something. And the next day it was like deployed. Yes, that was like super small startup basically that day. But that like level of support of hearing your users is very important. And to answer the question is that we have the solution, or with the proposed solution we have now is like we try to lightly focus more on the users, because we had a lot of that stuff there. We are doing the version 2, which should be much better for the user and the editor, the marketer, or the content creator. And the developers have the opportunity to use the management API and CLI. So very often you don't have to build all that features for this developer. You just have to give them the right tools to build that by themselves, because they know the best. Even like all of the agencies and partners we have, they very often knows best what they would like to do and how do they like to do. So they can build it as an extension, custom made by them for themselves, or they can use a scripting, like to build a quick templating system or whatever is that at the end of the day. So
I really like that answer. Just to build on what Samuel said, it's very hard to sort of think about both sides, user interface, user experience and developer experience. And I feel like we've taken a similar approach at Strapi with sort of saying, hey, developers, you can sort of like change what you want. We recently had very quite recently actually, a new version, which is version 4, which we released, which is sort of like revamping a lot of how it works. There's also a big visual revamp. And with that, we released 2 really important things, which I think sort of like do a great job for both the users, content managers, and the developers, which are sort of like a plugin API and how do I describe this? Sort of like a UI library or a component library. And what that do is like, with the V4 release, we've done some really awesome stuff on the backend side for developers, making things more performant, better APIs, which the plugin API is part of. And what that plugin API does for us is it sort of opens this door for specific bespoke solutions for content editors. We have a couple sort of like zones in our front-end app, which is our admin panel, which you can sort of manipulate and create better and custom content experiences through the plugin API and the admin panel. So if there's something you need that we at the moment can't develop quite fast enough, you can sort of create that. So in sort of like advocating for developers, opening up doors for developers in your company, sort of like create what you need on the user experience side. And I feel like it's at the moment it's working. We're getting some really good feedback on that. So that's sort of our approach.
I want to add one information based on what Samuel mentioned. So I know that like it used to be, people tend to think like Headless CMS is something that, okay, you definitely need the help from the developers. So it's not for like, business users, content creators, marketers. I even got some of the comments from the the ex-client of mine used to work. But then I'm like, if there is like the visual, the element to help you a lot for while they're changing the content in the real time and interactively, that you can see the contents are being changed and even can save the current progress, and then I even share to your team members before bringing into the production environment. I was imagining that would be really great as a developer. And then there was a solution out there. I just didn't know because I just didn't know the information until I got the chance to know about it. So I tested out, and as a developer, I really liked it too. And then I also got a lot of comments about from the business users that they really want to have the feature, that they want to see the changes on the fly. And they want to select the components from their feelings, visually, literally, seeing the content components and then select, then change the content, etc. So I would say this visual editor feature would be something very, very helpful element for anyone who want to make the change and make the work or collaboration very easy for the team. And yeah, there would be sometimes people wish to have something third-party integrations integrated in it. And for such kind of the cases, actually, you can build one, the app to enhance the features being added into your project, specifically to your projects. So there's quite a lot of flexibility in there from the anyone business user side and the developer side too.
Yeah, all great answers. And to add to all this is the developer and the content experience is equal. If the developer has, let's say there's an agency and it's a team of 4 developers and they build out a bunch of little projects for people around town, and they have to go into the markdown file every single time the client needs something updated, like a capital letter or an image changed out. If you're not giving that freedom to the content editor or the client, then you're kind of ruining the experience now for the developer. And so there's kind of that clash. And so when you make both kind of a priority, then both kind of balance out, and the content editor or client in this case can go in and be like, I don't like that picture anymore, but I can do that on my own. And so you give them the power to control their content, even though a developer set it up for them and built the website, they still have that power, and it's their content. They can do what they want with it, and it's set up for them.
Yeah, I think a crucial part here is also really what Samuel said is the kind of extensibility story. So you can solve a lot of issues by giving developers the right tool. So what we see at Contentful is we are fairly unopinionated of what you put in and how you structure your content and how you mess it up if you don't consider what should link to what. But I think in the entire Headless CMS space, we're now slowly on the way where new ecosystems are really evolving. When you consider, for example, WordPress, one of its strengths is pretty much you need something, install a plugin, right? We at Contentful, we cannot solve every editor's or content creator's needs, and we probably won't. But the key really to this editorial developer experience, how to balance it out is, well, if you need something particular interesting, you can always build it and share it with other folks and get the ecosystem rolling.
Exactly. I just wanted to add that I forgot that important stuff, that we are all good in are building the communities, especially with developers, and then the developers community helps each other, and that's how we all make them happy.
Yeah, I know Strapi has gone v4 and Sanity's in 2.20 something. And I'm sure Storyblok and Contentful and Storyblok are in the 2 and 3 versions. So that this idea of iteration and plugins and extensibility probably wasn't on the table in V1, right? There was I can't imagine that it was like, well, we're going to start extensible, right? They build a base, right? We've all gone through this process of build a foundation, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, now we make tools for others to build on top of. You guys spend a lot of time in the communities, working with everybody. What are some of the largest, not pain points, what are some of the largest opportunities that plugin developers are leveraging for your system, like your plugins and your extensions, or like what are they building? Are they, what do you see the most that is prevalent?
Should I start? I just go for it. Speak too much. So come on, somebody start.
Daniel, you tell
I
me.
can take this one. it's a really long answer, but here it goes. We see a lot of people building like a lot of things. Like when you sort of leave that open for people to sort of like play with and extend what's already being used, people sort of go ham, for lack of a better term. And yeah, we see people building stuff like RSS generators or sitemaps. People want to integrate with things like Elasticsearch or Algolia or Meilisearch. We have people building like upload providers for media management with like Cloudinary or ImageX, live video streaming with like Mux, custom fields with something like Shopify or an e-commerce platform. And I mean, besides that, we also sort of see, like I mentioned before, when I was talking about sort of like the plugin API and extending out like the admin UI, you sort of see people creating like workflows for their content teams very specific to how they work, creating like plugins to manage users and log in with different providers. We've seen people log in with like Ethereum, which is, yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, people, like I said, they go ham. So
Who doesn't need a little decentralization Web3 in my content manager system? That sounds totally appropriate.
all right, but I feel yeah, like Stefan said, we're also pretty unopinionated, like in what we see people building, because I mean, if we solve a problem, someone has. So sure, go ahead.
All right, who's got a better story than logging in with Ethereum? Nope. All right, point for Daniel.
Thank you.
So we see the sort of extensibility that developers are going ham, right? If you give them anything, right, they will drive it anywhere that they're not supposed to, right? Edge cases and everything else. I want to turn the tables a little bit and talk about the content editors and their experience. There's this. I've recently run into a group of individuals and business owners that have content that want to use it and publish it, but probably don't have a developer, right? They're small businesses. Does Headless CMS have a story for them? Traditionally, you think they go to Wix, they go to Squarespace, they go to WordPress. It's got the all-in-one, the site, the thing, the click. Is there a headless story for this group?
I would like to take the answer first because I have been hearing a lot from my previous clients before I joined into the Storyblok, because there were a lot of them telling me like, hey, Arisa Headless CMS approach sounds really attractive and I want to try that out. But there's one huge problem. And then it's most likely like they don't have the developers in-house. So they're like, are you able to help me? If so, then I'm willing to do that. But sometimes I'm quite being occupied like with the other projects that I have been working on. So it's not always the case that their demands, to have the developers like from outsources are always met. So the solution in here, or one of the solutions in here, that like a story I can tell from like, I would say like Headless CMS and Storyblok side would be like, well, even though like people don't have the in-house developers, there's always like the program we have, for example, providing the right partners, such as agencies, to help them to build the projects for them with using their choices of the Headless CMS. In this case would be Storyblok, because we have the partner program available for them. So we are also helping to meet such kind of companies who are looking for like developers who can help them to build their projects in headless architecture. So I think there's the story definitely to tell them that, hey, there's the way to help you out, and there are people out there also willing or like really gladly want to help you.
Yeah. To add to that, a headless CMS is, well, with Sanity or with like any content platform, it's generally going to be behind an API, and so a developer is going to be needed. But that's where the community comes in, and that's where resources and stuff that we're creating come in. So maybe you have a blog that you want to get spun up, and there's a couple things you need to do with code, and let's show you how to open up the terminal and run a CLI command, that kind of stuff. But trying to make that barrier as low as possible for the non-developer if they want to do it on their own, and creating enough content that it's that low threshold to get into it. But then once you get into the community, you see that there's other people that are creating and building with it. And I can learn from this plugin or from this project or from this blog post. And at Sanity, we have the Sanity Exchange, which is a platform for like sharing content, whether it's a plugin or a starter or a grok query or anything that's like Sanity related, and people can go in and build their own stuff from scratch or grab a plugin and put it into their own project. And so you don't need to be an expert developer to get into it, but the community definitely can support, and the DevRel can support in getting you up to that point that you need to get to with your project.
Yeah, I think that's on point. I do think, though, there's an opportunity and a slight move happening right now, because what we see at Contentful is first company already sitting on top of headless stuff. So we see some new SaaS companies coming in where it's like, hey, yeah, you can build your website and just plug in Contentful because all your stuff is in Contentful already, to kind of have your mini Squarespace or your mini Wix or whatever technology will do in the next few years. But I think there will be a space for another level on top. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that also in the Strapi community. Taking a bit of what Cap said, also big fan of Sanity Exchange. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, so we have people who sort of create components, if I can call it, components that have some sort of relation to some sort of front-end component in Strapi. So maybe easiest example I could probably give, or not easiest, sorry, most prevalent is like a hero, big screen, CTA buttons, you have that in Strapi, and you can sort of use our dynamic zone feature and move that around. You can create components, and I think this is where what's been mentioned already, like optimizing for the developer helps optimizing for like the content manager, and that's sort of like where we're trying to get with this. You build your website in a way that if I make any changes or add any sort of new sections to my page, the content manager can sort of move those around and sort of like have some sort of low-code Wix type functionality in Strapi, and then that sort of shows in the front end. And we've seen people do that. A lot of agencies actually really like that, because then their clients don't have to call them many times they need like a new page, or they need to swap like a CTA and I don't know, like a card section. They can literally just change that in their CMS, and then that reflects in the front end. So I feel like with plugins and community and with all these funky stuff that people are building, those lines are sort of being blurred. And I feel like, yeah, that's definitely where we're going.
Yeah. But what I think, in theory, what we are also going to see in the long term with this approach is that we will be also trying to kind of replace the WordPress. And that means that I think there is a big and huge opportunity to basically think about some templates. But if we go the templates and building the website, it suddenly means that we are not anymore the headless CMS. So I think like this is more like there will be like a site, I don't know if it's called industry or side projects, which will be exactly built on different frameworks like Gatsby, Next.js, or who knows which will come in the next years. And then there will be like popping up the templating systems, which you can then very easily choose. So there will be like I don't know, like cool website with a blog looking site, or maybe an agency, animation, whatever. And then you will choose like, okay, I would like to have this template, and I would like to deploy it with one of the headless CMSs. And you will then basically just push there all the schemas or the definitions, maybe to Sanity, maybe to Contentful, maybe to Storyblok, maybe to Strapi. Depends up to you and your choice. And then you can use that existing template. But that also is a little bit restrictive, because on other side, you will lose some of the flexibility that you are not able to then now do whatever you would like to. But it's okay for many users that will work in that template. So I think like this is something that will come, and there will be like agency or companies who will offer these appropriate solutions that you could buy or something like that.
Yeah, 100% agree. And aside of the effect, if this happens the right way, is that the content will then stay structured, right? Which means some product provides something with Sanity, with Storyblok, with Strapi, or Contentful, and kind of pulls in the data, spits out a website, all cool, but then the user, the customer, is just ready to reuse that wherever it goes. And it might be a different website, it might be a mobile app or whatever. But once this clicks for the people that I talk to, it's like, oh, I have now an author, and I defined that 2 minutes ago, and I can do whatever I want with this. This is where content starts flying, and I think that's the beauty, and that's what we're going to see.
I have this like visual idea in my head. There, I think in the last couple of years we've all been to restaurant websites where we end up with a PDF that we can barely see on our phone, and we're just like, all I want are noodles, but I literally can't read the selection. Right? It's this terrible experience, and they're usually just self-owned, right? They're people that own, they're not a franchise, they're not a big corporation. They're a place by me called Matty G's. Makes the best burgers, and they have truffle fries, but their website is so bad. It's so bad that I'm just like, unless we're going to walk down there, I can't use it. Like I just can't. So Matty's busy running his restaurant. Does he go to somewhere like a Webflow and then connect it to a headless CMS, and then figure out that when he takes pictures of when he puts stuff on his menu, that he can trigger his Instagram account, right? And get his Insta followers and show those burger, right? Is that the sort of flow that you see where he can just do this easily from, add the content, add the selection, hook up his cash register, like his cash POS, so that when he adds a new item, it shows up on the page, right? That would blow his mind. How do we get, and then I would get a text, it'd be like new burger, right? But how do we get Matty to there? Do we use something like the Exchange where we pair them up with developers? Because honestly, he's working like 60 hours, right? He's not gonna spend nights on the computer. Does he call us? Like, developers are expensive. Like, how do we get him from here to there in a reasonable way that I don't have to pay like $35 for a burger?
So the world is online. Everything, but we need like websites and technology, and everything's booming right now, and it's going to continue to go that way. It's not going to change. But one of the biggest restaurant chains has their 3 restaurants on Sanity. And the thing that like for the restaurant example is, if you want to scale your business, if you want to grow, it might be better to invest early in something that you don't have to change in 10 years, or you're like, I can't scale this website anymore. And so it's like starting with that developer, starting with that headless CMS, you can scale. And say you have like allergies that you want to put on your menu, and you add a new item, and it's like, oh, we forgot to put that. If you're allergic to walnuts, you can't have this. And so having to go into your website that you built with Wix or something might take a lot of time, and time is money. And so you want to make it like more convenient and quicker from the beginning. And so you have that headless CMS set up. And so it's kind of like that hard line to like cross. I need a developer, or I need a little more education in building out my website. But in the long run, if you start with that headless CMS, you can scale quicker, and you can do updates quicker, and you can put a new menu item on that's only for the weekend, and it's a special promo, 30% off of number 3 on the menu, or that kind of stuff. But things move quick. And so having that ability to change that content on the fly makes for a great user experience and the growth of the company, the growth of whatever chain or restaurant or anyone that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of education that we all have to do with some folks. Years ago, I worked, for example, for a Brazilian e-commerce shop, and we were building a huge marketing website. And I had this discussion with the CEO of the company and was like, hey, what content here should be reusable? And we were discussing that back and forth because we were dealing with ingredients and all these kind of things. And I was nailing down like, hey, what could just possibly at some point on our journey go somewhere else? And he was like, well, Stefan, I'm not designing your database. And I was like, no, that's not the point. The database is not the point. We have to have the data and structure because we don't know where it's going to go. And this is where we could convince the burger place that you're going to just say, hey, is that going somewhere else eventually? Do you want to post Instagram? Do you want to do push notifications? Here is why you should invest now. And I 100% agree with Cap and the early investment here, because that keeps giving and giving if your content is in order.
Yeah, the use case I think of is, a lot of restaurants around me are closed like Mondays and Tuesdays now because they're short on staff. But you don't know that until you drive up and look at the window and go, oh, there's they put a Post-it note on it that just says, sorry, whereas, I don't check the website anymore because no one's going to update that because they're only short staffed for now, right? They may be open next month on a Monday. I don't know, but I just have to go find out. And it's a really sad time when I go down there and there's no burgers. What are, the getting those business people that bringing down that barrier to fiction? We talked about education and getting them to invest up front. Is it hard to talk about the benefits? It feels like, the pitch for exercise. It's like, well, you're not going to like it a lot now, but in, 30 days or 60 days, you're going to feel great. How do you guys sort of position that to get them on board and get them excited about that sort of thing? Or is it just like sit down and eat your broccoli type of stuff?
I would say we need to be considerate about Headless CMS. I mean, there are some type of the people, let's say having the different projects which may not fit into specific approaches. Right. So I would say the important part in here is that we need to understand what their demands, what they need to improve, or what they want to achieve in the end in these projects. So I'm not in a position to 100% go with headless. That's the trend now. You only have this option. No, I wouldn't go with this because everyone has different demands or what they want to achieve. So for example, if there is a user with just one person in a team, and this person, let's say, do not have the background knowledge of the programming at all and have really, really tight budget. For this case, I really would struggle, I would say, to, convince or even saying okay, in this case, maybe you still should go to the Headless CMS because obviously he or she will need the help from someone who can, let's say, create the really basic fundamental and to, roll the things that he or she will be able to edit content by himself or herself. And for this case, I would say we need to understand the needs from them and also the situations that they have in here. So I would like to position it Headless CMS is one of the very good approaches that people might want to take a look at it. But of course, there are a lot of people having different demands and needs. So that's what we need to try to find what's the meeting point for every people's cases.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you talk to. So what we see, so when you, for example, have a person that runs 15 marketing websites with the same content in 5 homegrown CMSs, and you just tell them, well, you could all put that in one place and make an update in 20 minutes rather than 2 weeks. These folks are pretty quickly sold on the idea of Headless CMS.
Sam's got thumbs up. Yeah, I think you guys brought up a fantastic point where Headless CMS is not a silver bullet for everybody, like Arisa said. Like, it just isn't. But if you come into a space where, you know, Stefan, where they spend maybe they spend 4 or 5 hours on Saturday updating all Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and their website,
manually updating. That's the thing, right? A person
copy
goes
and paste, copy and paste. Right. This is every Saturday. This is what they do for hours, and you can just be like, you just want to give them a hug and just be like, there's a better way to do this. I really enjoy talking to, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the Headless CMS space and talking to you guys is that there's a level of like compassion that comes with like talking to the editors and the content creators and the developers. This line that you guys walk seem to have given you a very different perspective from, like, say, the state of React, where we're developers, right? Where we're just very in the thing. There seems to be a lot more human connection. I'm really trying to put this into words when I've seen you guys talk about this tension and this like back and forth between like what they actually need and what's really cool and shiny to play with. You know, this idea that they're not always the same, right? And sometimes their solution is okay, and it doesn't have to be. You know, it's hard. It's not very often you get people to come on and say, maybe my solution isn't the best solution for you. Maybe it's not going to work for you. Like that's pretty rare, and I don't see that in a lot of industries, especially in tech, where it's like, every nail is, this is my hammer and everything will fit in it. So this group is very distinct in that way that I think I've enjoyed watching over the last couple of years. And I have been peppering you with questions. Keon, this is the show. The show is the show. What have you got on your mind to ask for Headless CMS?
So I was actually just thinking about a client that I've worked with, and I've sort of seen them spend a lot of time sort of building out their own sort of admin suite. So they have like one team that manages some content, one team that, is the developers, and they have another set of users that's going to be consuming the content. What is your advice maybe for them or people like them who are trying to decide between building out their own admin suite where they manage all their content and versioning of that content and publishing of that content versus, using something like Headless CMS?
I would go. Okay. So you mentioned about like a couple of different environments in order to, like publish and release the content in a production environment. And for this, I would say like you are totally able to divide these different environments depending on whether you want to develop and experiment the content before you're going to, bring these content into the production environment or not. And then there could be also another environment for the preview or like Q&A, like to have the review. And then there's the live environment to do that. And I would like to say, like, there's one solution from Storyblok has, is that literally taking like these three environments to like double checking the contents are being checked, previewed from the team, and also making sure to merge all these like content changes into the production environment after everyone made sure like everything works, so that you will be able to have secure like environment before you put in these content into the production. So that this is one of the way that a lot of like customers are taking, like to have more secure, like work environment, to constantly like keeping content in a safe environment and then putting the content when it's ready at the production environment. So I would say like there are a lot of options to do that, but as one of the way, this example could be maybe interesting.
I think there's also, I guess, a hidden question in this question, which is like build versus buy, right? And man, buy always. I don't want to build 2 weeks and maintain something that is probably not as good as something that someone is doing full time. So for me personally, it doesn't matter if it's e-commerce, content management systems, databases, Excel sheets. There's usually good stuff out there for anything. So that we can spend our time building good stuff rather than reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, I often say, is this your core business? Like, is this a revenue generator? Oh, it's not. Okay, maybe we should look at someone who is generating revenue based on that, right? That's their core business. Let's see what awesome stuff they do, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's like there's so many of these no code for you solutions almost that you can get your business up and running quicker than spending months trying to build your own content platform. Let a company that has been doing it and focuses on it and makes it as nice as you need it to be for your project, and use them, and that's, Stefan, you said it just great, like build or buy. And if you're going to build it, know that it's going to take a lot of time. But if you just go ahead and, use another platform that they specialize in this like particular thing, like if you were going to set up your own payment system, like that's going to take a bit, or like your own authentication system, that's going to take a while. But content is no different. If you want to manage your content in an efficient way, go with someone who is doing it and will make it nice for you.
Yeah, 100%. I have so the system that we are providing are so flexible in nature. I couldn't even imagine how to build that. I could spend now 6 months on this topic and I will probably fail because I cannot figure out what we all provide here.
Yeah, I think the Gatsby asked us the same question, by the way, today on Twitter. There was a tweet from Gatsby. They are asking like what you should do first if you have 1 month to build a CMS. And my answer would be like, choose one of us, build a project in a week and enjoy the rest of the time, because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm stealing all your responses. Such lovely responses. That is so true. Build versus buy.
I'm having like shudder feelings, like maintaining a homegrown CMS at this point in my life. Like, I just can't.
I've been there. Don't go there.
The headspace and the time off the top to just like maintain it versus like adding features, to me, just like, I look at that and I think, that sounds like a terrible idea. Like, I don't even write my own content for my own like 1-person blog, like much less a company somewhere. Like, that's not the value proposition, right? You're good at burgers, you're good at shops, and you have your business. Why would you spend your Saturdays doing that? I can't imagine. Ugh. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. Well, that's about it for today for the state of Headless CMS. Here's what I'd like to do before we go, is I'd like to go around and I'd like to hear from each of you on the killer feature for 2022. It can be make-believe, you can wish it into existence, but it can be as realistic as you want, or something you're working on, or something that you just wish was available out in the community. I'm going to start with Daniel. What would you like to see this year in 2022?
I did not have time to think about that. Is there a specific context? Does it have to be about CMS?
Flying cars, ostriches. The context is free. We're going outside the bounds. Whatever you want in 2022, what is it that you would like to see?
Can I pass?
You can. I'll give you a pass. Samuel, you're up.
But I'll answer like after.
Okay, I have one big one. So final solution for pandemic. That would be my first pick. And finally meet some people here, like also in person on some conferences would be very nice. So definitely. And for the headless world, I'm like, if I would go like for Storyblok, I would definitely love to see the working app store, like the app store where the developers, the community can push and like add their tools they build, and then get maybe some really nice revenue back, which a little bit legal holding us back, but yeah, that would be like from my pick, which I would think it's quite awesome.
Oh man, we're gonna have to come back because I would love to talk to all of you about App Store building plugins, the Google and the Apple Play Store and the marketplace, and what a marketplace looks like and how those logistics work out. And okay, I'm gonna write this down and we're going to earmark this for another State of Headless CMS, because these marketplaces seem to have a lot of steam, and I feel like could really generate a lot. Daniel talked about Strapi and plugins, and okay, we're gonna shelve that for now because otherwise I'll keep you here all morning talking about it. Arisa, what about you? What would you like to see in 2020?
First of all, like in general, like
Maybe 2022, whatever
Oh,
year
yeah.
it might be.
Yeah, of course, 2022, or it could be in the future. I mean, like whatever comes to like on the plate. But yeah, as Samuel mentioned, I'm so desperate to meet people in person, and also like want to travel back again. I miss traveling around. So yeah, I want to travel like without the restrictions, and want to connect with more people. That would be my huge, huge wish. Yeah. So, but then like when it comes to like the headless like topic, I would like to see like, for example, like I hear a lot of like the feature requests, like more like really like really, really super flexible, like a localization, like feature request, like, can you do that? Can you do that? Can you do that? This kind of like questions. I had, for example, like being asked this kind of questions for like over 30 minutes about like localization. And I was like, okay, that's quite right. And I actually never thought about like only specific to the localization to have like more expanding, like, features to that. But it's really huge topic, because I would say like quite majority numbers of the projects are distributing content globally, and it's quite hard to just only distributing content in single like locale, etc. So I would say definitely like more numbers of the features for the localization, and plus the flexibility could be something that I want to see. Yeah.
I saw Keon nodding. We worked on localization in a event CMS, and it was just brutal. I mean, brutal it doesn't really quite do it justice. I mean, I think we've got mental there's a
Still have nightmares. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it was rough, and we had a great team, and it was still I'm with you right there.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm quite like, how do I say, satisfied? Maybe it's a bit weird to say, but I'm quite satisfied with the approach that I'm quite familiar at Storyblok. We have like two approaches of making localization, and it gives you already a lot of flexibilities too. But I would say like, of course, people like to try out something very new approaches, and I'm always like up to like new approaches too. So I'm already quite satisfied with the localization approach we have, because we are able to store the some certain locales into specific folders, and then the people will be able to store dedicated like translations into the specific folders, as well as they are able to make the translation for each components level. So it's quite giving a lot of flexibility. But however, like as we are developing and improving a lot of stuff, I want to see more like crazily like flexible features out there. That would be like something my wish to see.
That is a fantastic wish. Cap, what about you?
For me, it's the new or wanting to get into tech individual, and making that just kind of not easier, but a little less stressful and so long to like find a job in the tech industry. I've worked with a lot of people who are getting into tech, and it can take forever to find a job. And I just want the industry to like believe in these junior developers, or these people who have been doing agency work on their own and hustling and making projects for local restaurants or whoever, and giving them a chance. So getting a portfolio for every new developer is like a big goal of mine, because then that's where you see all their projects, and they can write blog posts, they can have their whole resume in one spot. And then that kind of like goes to the headless CMS world, like making sure that we continue to create content that people who have not been coding for 15 years can come in and understand what's happening, and creating blog posts where they can follow from the beginning, and by the end they have an entire project that they can add to their portfolio. But a lot of the getting into tech, junior developer, like helping them out and helping them get into this industry, because it's tough. A lot of seniors are wanted, but the juniors, I did a tweet the other day, junior developers are the future of technology, like literally and figuratively. Like, we need them, and if we don't start hiring them, then I mean, we're not gonna, I don't know, it needs
It's gonna
to change.
get real rough real fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
strongly agree with that, because I'm really passionate about programming education, and in fact I'm still teaching in programming school. So I totally agree with Cap, because I mean we all need to invest some of the opportunities for the future developers, because who are going to develop things in the future? They're the one. So I totally agree with her. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot imagine trying to break into tech today. I don't know that I have the hustle or the bandwidth that, like, 20 years ago it was not like this. And I've taught at boot camps, and those people are vastly smarter and harder working than I was at that point. And those juniors are impressive, man. We all need them. They are amazing. Just amazing people.
Yeah.
I think I have my wish now. Is it a wish? I don't know, what were we coming up with?
We're wishing. Absolutely.
Right.
Daniel, what would you wish for?
There've been so many good answers. I think what I want to see is everything said actually come to be. I feel like that would be great. So, like, the pandemic ending, junior developers, plugins, let's all do that. Let's make that happen. I'm for everything.
Awesome. Stefan, what about you?
Yeah, great answers. 100% agree. My wish, a little bit on a technical note, is maybe slightly related. I feel like, especially in the front end world, we're overcomplicating a lot of things. It feels like there's
Hallelujah and praise the Lord.
We're shipping so much code for tiny things, and I see a slight trend happening that we might get into a world where it's a little less complicated, so that it's also a little bit beginner friendly. So I'm really wondering how and if that turns out. From a Contentful side of things, yeah, this year we're going to look into this ecosystem that we all talked about, the community parts of things. I'm really excited to get more people into our ecosystem. So that's going to be cool.
Fantastic. All right, Keon, I'm not gonna leave you out. What's your 2022 wish?
Oh man, I wasn't expecting this. I don't know why.
Right? Thought I was gonna skip you. No.
I would say the same. Like as others have mentioned, around the pandemic, getting back to travel and getting back to connecting with people, that would be incredible. I know, like, a lot of us at this dot have never met each other face to face, so that would be great. And then as far as tech wise, I'm not really sure. There's tons of things that I want to learn and grow and get into and get better at from all sides of the stack, but I don't know that I have something specific to Headless CMS.
That's totally okay. I want to thank everybody for coming today. The Headless CMS is one of my favorite topics. I jumped at the chance when I heard that it was coming up because of what I said earlier, the group and the camaraderie and the humanity and the effort and the emotion that everybody here puts into people first, and then the technology will figure out. I feel like it goes unparalleled with any other niche in the tech stack. So I want to thank you all really a lot, and I can't wait to see you all in person and go to conferences and be around you people. It's way past due. So when things open up, the first conference, I will be there in the front row cheering you all on for your talks and your communities and everything else. So thank you so much to everyone for joining and taking the time. I really appreciate it. Thank you, This.Labs, for hosting today and giving us the time and the platform to talk to everybody. Thank you, and be kind to everyone, and we'll see you next time. Everyone wave and say bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
See you soon.